Hello, Steve White, Steve White 89. Well, I know I'm doing another Superman video, but I had to comment on some of this because it's kind of funny and interesting. There's a lot of cope in the community at the moment, a lot of division, because the reality is less people attended the box office opening of the latest Superman than did the last Henry Cavill Superman. And the whole reason for throwing the universe out and starting over again and rebooting was because they are supposedly, and this is always the grift to studios, we'll do a better job than the last people and we'll, get more people, we'll spend more money and we'll get more people in and it'll be bigger and better because that's what the grift is. And, you can't just do that. Fans don't, they have to give something that they actually want to see. You can't just, it's not make product, and they will come. It's not always that simple. But, people are aware that it's made less money and now they're trying to cope with that. And they're pointing out that, well, yes, the film may not make any money because if it only makes 405 million, it's not going to make money because it's going to need like 700 million to actually make money. It doesn't look like it's going to get there because it's made the same amount of money as some films that only made 400 or 500 million. And there's no way of telling if it's going to have legs or if it's going to die quickly. At this point we really don't know, but it's not looking good. And so now some fans are like, but that doesn't matter because there's other ways that the films make money. So they can still make money from the film, from merchandising and selling, the rights to TV and streaming services and rentals for small cinemas and things like that. They can show the film. Definitely, like all these things. And it's like, yes, there's other ways to make money. It's not just the box office. And that's true of any movie, and that's something when the haters and the trolls and the chuds are attacking a film and just focusing on the box office or the live views and that, and they ignore the streaming views and the people waiting and that and all the other merchandising deals and stuff like that. It's because it doesn't serve their purpose to acknowledge that the films still make money even if they don't just make it in the cinema. But they're supposed to make it in the cinema and then everything else is extra. If they don't make it in the cinema, then they do have to rely on those other things, which are usually just, gravy on top. But they can still do it. And a lot of films still go into profit and make money and are still essentially successful because they make money for the studio, but not as much as they could have and should have and were expected to. So that's an issue. But the reality is, Man of Steel had all the same deals. That made a bunch of money on top of the box office. So it's like they're making excuses like, no, it's going to make other money. It's not just the box office. Well, so did the other Superman. So did the other DC films. So did the other DC universe that you cancelled in favour of this one prematurely because all they had to do was finish off the trilogies, finish off the series and end this universe fulfilled and then give a bit of time and move on to another one. But instead, they rushed, they cut it short, and they rushed the new one in. They brought in James Gunn, and he's just basically recreated his Guardians of the Galaxy universe, and they wanted, for some reason, a Thor Love and Thunder style universe where they think it's going to appeal more to the general audience and the masses than even the more serious Marvel universe, which is still a lot more camp and lighter than the DC universe. But making DC into Marvel, big mistakes, like trying to make Star Trek into Star Wars, it doesn't help either brand. And I just wanted to comment on that because I just found it funny that people like Variety are pointing out all the numbers and they're showing that yes, this film is going to have a hard time actually making money, but it's going to make money other ways. So it's still, they're just trying to cope, and it's like, it's just the weirdest thing. Just admit where you are and that you're no better off than the last film. It'll do okay. It'll eventually make money out of all these other, is it ancillary? Is that the word? All these other sort of, means. And, just, you can't hide the fact that it didn't really work. And maybe maybe had they let the other DCU run its course, which probably would have only taken another 4 or 5 years, and they'd, taken their time and done this maybe over a 15-year period, not like a 10-year period or whatever time the DCU lasted, fans would have had an easier transition into it. Instead of feeling like the rug was pulled out from under them, now they were being asked to commit to a whole new universe when they just had the last one sort of taken away from them. Fans don't forget that. They just treat us like cattle, like we'll just, they're just going to produce content and we'll just eat it. They're just going to, create product and we'll just buy it and not question it because the marketing tells us this is the new hot new thing. Buy this. This is what we're creating now. This is our content now. This is our product now. Buy this now. And not care that we already bought product and were invested in that or attached to those characters in that era or whatever. And like I said, you can't do that forever. It would have run its course, but they didn't let it do that. And now they're paying for that because That's what happens when you reboot things too soon, or you just treat things like content and product. Like, okay, well, that era's over. We're not making any money out of this. Let's move on to the next thing, and don't care about the people who are still invested in that and still rewatching those films and still, having those collectibles and that merchandise that they value in that. So yeah, they didn't read the room. They didn't do their research. They didn't time things. They were rushing, just wanted to make that Marvel money that I don't think really exists anymore. But not because of superhero movie fatigue, but because people are just afraid to commit. I think because there's no sense of permanency anymore between the multiverse storylines and constant reboots and shuffles and everything. You just you just don't know what you're going to get, and it's just hard to really invest and commit, and that's what people are not doing. Less people watch the new Superman than the last Cavill one. It's just a fact. That's something to think about.